What would you do if the person living next door turned out to be a murderer? And not just any murderer, someone who went to shocking lengths, earning the chilling nickname, the crossbow cannibal. In today's video, we're diving into one of the most disturbing cases to ever be caught on camera. A man named Stephen Griffiths took the lives of 3 women in the most brutal way, and even filmed one of his murders. It's a story that's as horrifying as it is hard to believe, but it's real, and it shook the world. Stick around because you won't want to miss this shocking true crime tale that will have you questioning how someone can hide such evil right in plain sight. Let's start. Life in Bradford. Bradford, an old industrial town in West Yorkshire, is filled with the kind of grit and gloom that you'd expect from a place that's seen better days. But beneath the regular hustle of the city, there was another world. A darker one where vulnerable women, particularly those caught in the grip of addiction or poverty, found themselves walking the streets at night. Bradford's red light district, an area that promised anonymity, was a magnet for both sex workers and predatory men. Stephen Griffiths knew this. He wasn't just another face in the crowd, but someone lurking in the shadows, waiting. For over a decade, Griffiths immersed himself in this underworld, blending in, silently planning his attacks. And while everyone else saw desperate women, he saw easy prey. Now, let's pause here for a second. Just think about living in a neighborhood where danger feels like it's just around the corner. That was life for these women. But for Griffiths, it was the perfect hunting ground. The crossbow cannibal's descent into madness. So who exactly was Stephen Griffiths? Born in 1969, he wasn't always seen as a monster. In fact, Griffiths had been pursuing a PhD in criminology at the University of Bradford. That's right, a man studying crime from an academic perspective, living in the same city where he would carry out some of the most horrific murders in recent history. But don't let his academic background fool you. Griffiths wasn't just studying killers. He was becoming one. In his spare time, Griffiths developed a fascination with the macabre, consuming books, documentaries, and any material that delved into the world of serial killers. It's chilling to think about, but it seems like he was using his research as a twisted roadmap, planning every detail of his crimes. When interviewed in the infamous TV documentary, Griffiths described himself as misanthropic, meaning he harbored a deep hatred and distrust for humanity. He wasn't someone who was motivated by impulse or anger. This was calculated. It was about gaining recognition, not just for his crimes, but for the terror they would cause. The murders. Between 2009 and 2010, 3 women went missing in Bradford: Suzanne Blamires, Shelley Armitage, and Susan Rushworth. All 3 were vulnerable women, known to work as prostitutes, and all 3 had the misfortune of crossing paths with Griffiths. The brutality of these murders is hard to even put into words, but let's start with the chilling footage that finally led to Griffiths' arrest. The final victim, Suzanne Blamires, was caught on CCTV running out of Griffiths' apartment. You'd think she was about to escape, but then Griffiths appeared, crossbow in hand, chasing her down. He shot her, dragged her back into the apartment, and made a sickening gesture toward the camera, flipping off the lens like it was all part of some twisted game. This wasn't just violence, this was someone who was proud of his work. Griffiths didn't stop at killing. He dismembered his victims, and according to his own confessions, even indulged in cannibalism. Yeah, you read that right. This man didn't just take lives, he consumed them. It's almost too grotesque to comprehend, but it shows just how far gone Griffiths was, mentally and morally. CCTV footage. If there's one sliver of relief in this harrowing story, it's that Griffiths was eventually caught. The chilling chain of events began when a caretaker stumbled upon horrifying CCTV footage in Griffiths' apartment complex. This footage was a grim revelation, capturing the moment he attacked one of his victims. Once the police were alerted, they acted quickly, leading to Griffiths' arrest on May 24, 2010. The evidence was overwhelming. There was no denying the brutality of his crimes. What's even more chilling is how Griffiths seemed unfazed by it all, as if he relished in the infamy that came with his actions. During his trial, he openly admitted to the murders, even proclaiming, "I've killed a lot." His lack of remorse was haunting, painting a picture of a man who had achieved what he had set out to do, become notorious for the horror he inflicted on innocent lives. It was as if he wore his crimes like a badge of honor. The judicial system wasted no time in bringing him to justice. In December 2010, Griffiths was sentenced to life in prison. The judge made it abundantly clear that he would never see the outside world again, ensuring that his reign of terror would end behind bars. While the scars of his actions linger in the community, the fact that he can no longer harm anyone is a small victory in a narrative filled with tragedy. A haunting legacy. Let's not forget that behind every true crime story are real people. Suzanne Blamires, Shelley Armitage, and Susan Rushworth weren't just named in the news. They were mothers, daughters, and friends. They had lives, hopes, and dreams, cut short by a man who saw them as nothing more than pawns in his sick game. In the aftermath of the murders, their families were left to pick up the pieces. What about someone losing someone they love in such a brutal way? It's unthinkable. The pain, the trauma, it doesn't just fade away. And for the people who knew these women, the scars left behind will last a lifetime. The media's role. Let's talk about the media for a second. Griffiths wanted to be famous, and in a way, he got what he wanted. The press anointed him the crossbow cannibal, splashing his face across newspapers and TV screens. It's almost as if they were playing into his hands, giving him the notoriety he craved. But here's the thing. While we can't deny the importance of covering such horrific crimes, there's a fine line between reporting and glorifying. The more attention we give to people like Griffiths, the more we risk turning them into anti-heroes, and that's something we have to be careful about. A nightmare that won't be forgotten. Stephen Griffiths' crimes shook the world, and for good reason. His calculated, cold-blooded murders were a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk within a person, and the failure of a system to protect its most vulnerable. But if there's one takeaway from all of this, it's that these stories, no matter how horrifying, need to be told. Not just to remember the victims, but to shine a light on the injustices that allowed this to happen in the first place. So that's a wrap on this chilling story. If you found this case as shocking as we did, be sure to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories that leave you on the edge.